Thank you. Let's turn our attention to Tunisia. Protesters are demanding the release of hundreds of anti-government demonstrators. Nationwide protests started earlier this week over new austerity measures that raise taxes on cars, alcohol, phone calls and the internet. At least one person has been killed and more protests are scheduled for the days ahead. Tunisia sparked the 2011 Arab Spring, you may remember, which overthrew the country's longtime president and his government. A new youth movement is leading the charge, hoping the government will overturn the austerity measures. But Tunisia's finance minister says the price hikes are necessary to grow the economy. Well, joining me now from San Francisco is national security and foreign policy analyst Ari Aramesh. Ari, good to have you with us once again.
Good to be with you.
So listen, on the surface, these protests are, a challenge to the new austerity measures, but the roots of this anger run deep and they stretch back years. Help our viewers understand what's really going on here.
Well, their roots run real deep. Let's keep in mind that the Arab Spring of 2011, that led to the toppling of many Arab regimes, including that of Mubarak's in Egypt, that of Saleh in Yemen, who was just recently killed, and so on and so forth, led to the civil war in Syria and so on and so forth. It actually all started in Tunisia. Tunisia, since 2011, has been somewhat of a stable transition, has had somewhat of a stable transition towards democracy. Now, let's keep in mind that only in 7 years it's had, I think, 9 governments, 9 different prime ministers have come and gone. But again, it hasn't really fallen into an armed conflict between the Islamists and the seculars or the military. So that's something to keep in mind. Having said that, the country has some major fundamental infrastructure issues. First and foremost, fundamentally, there's corruption. There's corruption on all levels, from the very, very top, at the very top of the government, at the very top brass, all the way down to the workers and to sort of the guy that you need to sign paper for you so you can actually build a building, for instance. So there is corruption at every level. Secondly, there's poverty. And third, one of the things, especially one of the issues that just came up, is that there has been massive inflation. Inflation has been on the rise, prices have been going up, and the government, trying to keep its deficits low, has imposed some austerity measures that have been very unpopular. So you have this eruption now, and it's led to some violence, and now you see the army on the streets of Tunis and other major cities in Tunisia.
That's right. I mean, we've seen protests across 10 different areas in the country over the last couple of nights. I mean, I think the question a lot of people have, are we looking at the possibility of another Arab Spring as we see all these young people out on the streets night after night?
I'm not sure if it's going to be another Arab Spring, because I'm not sure if it's going to lead to a sort of a domino effect as it did in 2011. But what's clear here is there are issues on the Arab street that have not been resolved. These are deep wounds, and these are wounds of illegitimacy. These are wounds of centuries of living under tyranny, either through colonialism and then later on post-dependence under tyrannical regimes. Let's not forget that for decades, Zain al-Abidine Ben Ali, the deposed president of Tunisia who fled to Saudi Arabia, kept a pretty tight grip on his people. There's been very little practice and exercise of democracy in any country in the Middle East. So we got to give them a little time. Democracy takes time. We got to be patient. But what these countries need, very quickly, Aisha, what these countries need is not a $2.9 billion IMF loan. That's good, but it's not enough. They need direct foreign investment. They need jobs. They need countries and world leaders. Forget about our president, who happens to think of certain countries in the world in certain terms, but they need direct investment. And world leaders and European countries and the United States and China and world leaders have to, and there's plenty of money to be made, but they need direct foreign investment, and they need jobs, they need manufacturing, and they need infrastructure, not just loans. Loans and handouts are not going to be sustainable.
No, absolutely. Great insight and analysis, Ari, as always. Ari Aramesh, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.